Hello and welcome to the Home Assistant Podcast. Today we're joined with Phil as usual. Hey, Phil.
Hey, Rohan, how's it going?
Good. And with Florian. How's it going, Florian?
Hi, good.
Good. Before we get kicked off, this episode is sponsored by Home Assistant Cloud by Nabukasa. Easily access your local Home Assistant instance remotely for a small monthly fee that supports Home Assistant and the ESP Home projects. Configuration's done by the user interface, so there's no fiddling with router settings, SSL certificates, or any YAML. All right. Let's jump into it. Florian, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're here.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me. I can start with how I got to Home Assistant. It's a bit of a story. I started in my career in infra, with networking and stuff like that. And before that, I was building a lot of computers myself, really interesting in gaming and building my own gaming PCs. About in 2012, I think I switched careers, because I started in infra and then thought, this is not something I would want to do my whole life. And I was fortunate enough that I got a colleague who was in development, and he said, I'll teach you everything you need to know. And around that time, I think there was a board called ZigBee or something like that. Maybe it still exists, but it was an add-on board for a Raspberry Pi. And so I started working with Raspberry Pis in that time a bit as a hobby. And that I think that was even pre-Home Assistant times. Because I was learning development, I also tried to develop with a super simple script a Z-Wave command to turn on a light. And it was, wow, I can turn on lights. So that was really great.
Or it's like a little kid moment when you first you press the button on your keyboard and it does something. You're like, I didn't have to use a light switch to do that, and I can do it again, and that's really fast. And it's like Christmas, right? Like, yes, thank you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that is. And back in that time, I don't think there were quite that many smart home hubs. So it was a bit of a starting time for a smart home. And in that, and then I remember Home Assistant eventually came out, and I thought, how can I connect devices to that? And I know opening the app, and it was like, it's only, I think in the beginning it was only for some Z-Wave, ZigBee devices and internet connected devices, but I hadn't had any of those. So I put it away and never thought about it for a few years. Eventually, I backed a hardware device with a remote, but I can't remember the name, on Kickstarter. It was one of a few first hubs that combined basically Bluetooth and all the radios together in one device.
Yep.
But that eventually got bought up after just 1 year, and they tossed the device. So that was really,
lovely,
unfortunate.
Did you get the device at least, like from the Kickstarter?
Yeah, I got it, but they were all kind of promises. But after a year, it was gone.
Yeah. Did they brick it, or is it just pretty much useless at that point still?
It was useless. No more updates, and they promised like a library of 40,000 supported devices and stuff like that.
But they had like 15 instead.
Yeah, indeed. There were quite few, so that was really unfortunate. But luckily, around that time, a device called Homey became available on the market. I think now Homey Pro is a bit known in the world.
Yep.
I think I tracked that quite some time, Homey, but it was really expensive in the beginning, like €500, I think, if I remember correctly.
Right.
Eventually I got my own apartment, and I just thought I'll have to buy this to combine all the things in smart home. started out with Philips Hue, that was basically the beginning of smart home for me. And then in 2017, I met my girlfriend, and she also had Philips Hue in her apartment.
Match made in heaven. There you go. Wow.
Yeah. But she had only the simple things like toilet lights go on and basement lights go on motion. And in 2019 we moved in together. And then my homie that I bought became really slow because they were based on a Raspberry Pi, I think 3 or something like that. And it was using quite a lot of RAM, also because in that time I used MQTT to stream all my devices to Home Assistant.
Nice.
Because I was not using Home Assistant because I thought in that time still that Home Assistant took a lot of effort to maintain.
Yeah.
Because I've used Raspberry Pis in the past for all kinds of stuff and they always kept crashing. And then it took me a weekend to repair everything and I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So I thought Homey is like a product. They have to maintain it. They have to ensure it's stable. So I'll go that route. But eventually, I got so many devices that Homey couldn't process them anymore.
Right.
So I thought either I'll buy the new Homey Pro or I switch to Home Assistant. So I decided to switch. And
that's interesting. I wonder, do you think you would have been you'd have eventually had to come back to Home Assistant anyway with the number of devices you have today? I'm just thinking on reflection, because I wonder if Homey Pro, you'd be in a similar situation where you don't have, you've got too many devices for even the Pro to handle.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, the thing was that got me over the edge with Home Assistant is Homey Pro, if you deconstruct it, has just a Raspberry Pi 4 compute module in it.
Right.
Yeah. So I thought the Homey Pro is pretty expensive and it's just run by a Raspberry Pi inside. So why not use my own Raspberry Pi, which is much cheaper and I can upgrade at any time without any restrictions.
Yeah.
And just go the Home Assistant route. It just made more sense to me using that. Yeah. So now I'm using Home Assistant for basically everything. And about 2 years ago, we started building our own home. So our own house that we're living in right now.
Yep.
And we focused really on getting everything prepared up front for smart homes. So a bit deeper wall sockets for potential monitoring behind the socket or stuff like that. For the network, I decided to go the Ubiquiti route. So all those
the access points,
Wi-Fi
you must have
points.
everything. Yep. Yep.
So also prepared that. And I also really wanted, because I saw that on the Home Assistant forum quite a lot, a dashboard in the living room. So I installed I let them install a wall socket next to the thermostat. And I have now an iPad Air there with a really clean iPad wall mount. It's from Displin, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really clean. It's flush against the wall. You don't even see that the iPad is almost floating against the wall. So that's really nice.
Yeah. How do you find using an iPad for the dashboard? I'm using some Fire tablets, so I know there's a world apart in terms of performance, but how do you find an iPad? I think I've even seen some people saying an older version of an iPad can be a bit slow running, just a browser, but have you found your experience? with an iPad?
Really good. There's a little bit of a hack that you have to do. Because on Android, I think you have something like kiosk mode, and you then can use the camera for like activating the screen.
Right.
On iPad, that's a bit more restricted. You can't do that out of the box. But I found a hack for that, and that is if you add or a Philips Hue motion sensor into HomeKit, and then you put your iPad into single app mode. I don't know what that mode is called again, but and then
kiosk mode, basically.
If you kiosk mode indeed, and if you then program in HomeKit that if motion is detected, a notification is sent to the iPad, then the screen wakes up, but you don't see the notification.
Right.
So that way, with that hack, and that's actually also the only HomeKit device that I have, that one motion sensor. It's purely for triggering and turning on the screen of that iPad.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a really cool hack. But a useful hack. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it's nice because you don't have to like jailbreak it, or you don't have to like do any of that kind of crap. It's just straight. It's a quick. I mean, it is a hack, but it's still efficient, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope they never remove the capability.
You can never update that firmware on the iPad.
No, never.
I wonder, would Apple shortcuts not let you do, I think that's what it's called. Their automation engine, whatever it is. Would they not let you? Would they not let you say like, if motion detected, turn on screen? I wonder if you could.
I think they more focus on controlling apps and their actions. Apple is always very limited in device capabilities over shortcuts.
Interesting.
So that's working pretty well. Yeah,
that's cool.
So what is you've built your house, which you're living in now. I guess how did the design process go? Like, I know you mentioned, you wanted deeper wall sockets and all that. Was there like an upfront, like, did you find it was more expensive to put those requests in, or were there any pushback from, when you were designing it, saying, oh no, it's a bit hard to do it this way, or why do you need to do that?
No, I think the building company was pretty straightforward. It was a project, so it was not a single house. So we were a bit limited in the things we could do.
Yep.
And there were some options that you could just check off.
Right.
But for example, making the wall sockets a bit deeper for room for smart devices and stuff like that. You just had to ask and pay the price, but
Okay, that's good.
So no real pushbacks. I think I can't remember. No.
Did you when you built the house? Did you get them to wire in anything too?
Yeah, I really thought about KNX and stuff like that, because when I started with smart home, it was with Philips Hue, so ZigBee was the main thing I was using. But with new houses, there's quite a lot of isolation in the windows and also between floors. So I was really a bit scared about the connection for ZigBee. So I thought about that, but eventually I didn't do it. Just because I thought, there are so many repeaters on the market. If the connection would be bad, I'll just put repeaters somewhere and maybe I can hide them. The only thing I regret is more wall sockets in places like at the windows for automating like curtains and stuff like that.
Right.
Because those are battery powered, is a bit hard to do.
Yeah. Whereas this is just always there. It's always plugged in.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. when we bought our curtains, they said, "Do you have a wall socket nearby?" Because I asked about automations, and as soon as I said, "No wall socket. Sorry, can you do battery?" They said, "Yeah, that's battery is too
yeah." Fair enough.
Yeah, so, there are a lot of retrofit battery devices though.
Yeah. We have some towards our backyard. We have some light curtains, and I used actually a switch bot there that you just mount to the rail and just pushes the curtain forward. Works actually quite good, but every 6 months I have to charge that one up. So
I have the same thing with my right next to me where you see the light coming from. That's my front yard, which is I have switch butt tilts there, which same thing, right? But it's for like Venetian blind style. But
I really want those as well. But we have black blinds, and
they're white.
I think they're white, so not wife approved there. So,
I get that. I wonder if you can get this put like because there's not like a big thing. If you get like a vinyl wrap or something like that for like a vinyl sticker. Because I've seen people do that for access points and stuff like that, right? Where they basically just wrap it in a sticker, just like you would to your car. I have a 3D printer, so I was thinking about buying just one and then maybe designing a wrapper case or replacement something that clicks around it or something. But that just makes it fatter then. That's the problem.
And it will take some time, so I'd rather just buy it when it's in the right color.
Fair enough.
Yeah, indeed.
So you decided to go the ZigBee route in your new home. Is that the only protocol you've got? Have you? Because I think you started off with Z-Wave, like in the beginning.
Yeah, in the beginning it was Z-Wave, and then a combination of Z-Wave and ZigBee. I tried out some of the Fibaro wall plugs that were also measuring like electricity and stuff like that.
Yep.
And also Fibaro. It's like a little remote that they have with I think 5 buttons on it. And there's also really cool.
It looks like a keyless entry to your car. Like
exactly. I really like that one just to control scenes and stuff like that. I haven't found one for ZigBee actually that is that small.
No. There is the so that's the Philips Hue dimmer switch, but that you can link up to a globe. I think in Home Assistant you can actually capture the events.
You can.
That would be maybe the closest I get. Otherwise, IKEA have for their trad-free smart blinds, they've got the little knobs that you can they're dial, look like volume knobs. Actually, no, that's for the smart speaker, so it is actually a volume knob. But they are just ZigBee, so you can pair them with Home Assistant as well. I think trad-free light globes, they've got a simple on-off button. But no, there's no little 5-scene controller or anything for ZigBee. It's strange, right?
Yeah, it's really strange. It's such a nice product, and so eventually when we built this house, I decided to just use one protocol for almost everything. Of course, I have some devices like internet connected stuff like that. Like currently I have ESP Home devices and also and the Tapma Home Coach for like CO2 values and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
But for the rest, everything ZigBee. I just checked before the show. It's currently 119 ZigBee devices. So,
119.
Wow.
I have some questions. May I ask some questions, please?
I knew Phil was going to interject there. That's perfect.
119. Okay.
Yeah.
So I checked because I know we were just talking about before we started recording, and I was like, so I've got 70. And I don't know if recently it's been stable, but I still I just checked before. There's still random battery ZigBee devices of mine that I know they've got battery left, but they just disappear. They go unavailable, and then a couple of months later they'll come back online without me touching them. How have you what's your hardware for ZigBee? Using ZHA or using ZigBee to MQTT? Like, what's your stack for ZigBee?
So I'm using ZigBee to MQTT with Sonoff stick. So Sonoff ZigBee 3.0 stick.
Yep.
And there's a bit of a story with that. So I've used ZigBee to MQTT, I think, for after we built the house for 1 year straight without any issues.
Yep.
And then I decided one day to upgrade ZigBee to MQTT to the latest version. And then everything kept disappearing from the network and stuff like that.
Don't you love that when that happens?
Yeah. Acceptance factor of my partner went straight in the bin. So,
Yep.
It's and then
did you have to walk around 100 times and relink everything back to the ZigBee stick?
Yeah, I had the same issue that you had, or the same behavior. So sometimes they just kept coming back, and then I enabled pairing in ZigBee to MQTT, and then it just rejoined the network.
Nice.
It was really, really strange, and I thought maybe my dongle is broken or something. Replace that. I have some Tuya wall plugs. Maybe those are interfering with something. I read something on the internet about that. Wasn't the case. And eventually, I think I just downgraded all the way back to a really early version of ZigBee to MQTT and just left it there. Eventually, I repaired all devices, and after that, it was stable again. So I'm not upgrading to anything anymore.
Interesting.
With regards to that. So
if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah,
right?
it's really the change log. You have to read it. I experienced that. If it isn't anything that you really, really want to use, don't upgrade. It's not worth it.
Yeah. So you've got 100 ZigBee devices. I'm guessing they are, because you've replaced Z-Wave and all that now, so it's purely just ZigBee. So are they doing all your smart lights? I'm guessing so they're doing energy monitoring, like they're sending power usage back. I'm guessing your ZigBee network must be noisy. Yeah,
really noisy. For when we built this house, we decided to go pure Philips Hue. So every light in my home is a Philips Hue light.
Nice.
And we also decided, because we were just 2 years checking Black Friday deals and stuff like that, because Philips Hue can be pretty expensive, but if you just track the deals, it's pretty okay. So we also decided to buy those Friends of You switches, and they're eOcean switches. So when you press them, they just generate enough power to send signal. So we have them everywhere, and I just switched the power to always be connected. So I replaced also the actual wall switch with them.
Yeah, nice.
For wall sockets, indeed, I have quite a few of some cheap Tuya wall sockets. They're also measuring power, and I use that for also turning off at night devices that can use a lot of power. I think a recent guest, if you mentioned Sonos, that's if you plug in those things and you measure the power, you see at night where nobody is using it, spikes of 400 watts.
Wow.
It's crazy. So
I started putting smart plugs on my Sonos speakers. I think just reading around, there's just that phantom power, right? So. Yeah, that makes sense. And so you've got your 100 devices on ZigBee with power. How do you find performance of ZigBee with having so many devices on the network? Like if you hit a button to turn a light off in home, do you find there's a delay or anything like that, or is it still snappy?
Yeah, it's pretty snappy. I must say, with those N-Ocean devices, it's always a bit tricky because you have to hit the button right to activate the power. But sometimes I have to press one or two times. But it's so rarely that it is acceptable. And in most places, I have also motion sensors that just trigger lights. I checked just a few minutes ago. The last time I pressed any of those N-Oceans was like 3 weeks ago or 1 week ago.
That's cool. So, that's great.
Yeah, so there are not many times that I actually have to press that button.
And also great that you can pull up those stats and say, when did I last push this button, right? That's a really good indicator.
Yeah, it's ZigBee to MQTT is really nice in that way. If you enable in settings, you have like a last seen setting.
Yep.
And I also use that to track if I have any devices that became unavailable or are not reacting correctly. And I think Everything Smart Home on YouTube, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe it was someone else, but they just recently had a series about how to get ZigBee to MQTT like really stable and up and running. And they also showed a sensor that you can put into Home Assistant where you get notified every week with all your devices that are unavailable. So that's really nice to like maintain your network.
I can't say I've seen that video series, but yesterday I installed a custom hacks that I found component called Watchtower or Watchman. I can't remember the exact name.
Oh yeah.
But similar thing, right? Like it goes through all your automations, and if you've got a missing entity, it will build a report, and then you can get that to send to you once a week or whatever. But that's sounds pretty similar.
Yeah, it's exactly the same indeed, and I have that add-on as well. Yeah, it's really great to just maintain everything.
I just activated it before our call today, and I can see like it's found 60 odd entities that must be old entities. I'm like, there we go. I'll have to go and replace those now.
Yeah,
but like old phone battery states that are somewhere, and
and sometimes you rename a device. Yeah.
Yep.
And then you forget.
Yep. All that, right? So, so what are you then driving Home Assistant with? So are you running, you're still using a Raspberry Pi 4? Have you upgraded?
Yeah, Raspberry Pi 4 with 4 gigabytes of RAM. Recently, I had my SD card die. So luckily, I installed, it's an add-on that creates a backup and then uploads it to Google Cloud. So,
nice.
Oh man, that saved my life. Because Home Assistant just crashed out of nowhere and kept rebooting and stuff like that. So I had no idea what was going on. And eventually, it was. I know everything. Everyone keeps saying, "Don't use an SD card. Don't use an SD card." But
But
here we are.
Here we are. Yeah. So I switched to an SD or SSD, and now everything is fine. And I could just restore from a backup from yesterday. So no problem.
No history loss or anything. That's good. And so ZigBee to MQTT is also on that Pi, like.
Yeah. I have it installed as an add-on. Previously, I had the MQTT broker running on a separate device.
Yep.
But when I had the issues with the network, I decided maybe it's a good idea to put it also on the Raspberry Pi, just to keep it close. Previously, I had it running in Docker somewhere on a server in the house, but now it's running on the Raspberry Pi, and it's not using almost any resources. So I just
that's nice.
As usual, we love to find out what are your top couple of favorite automations around the house.
Yeah, so I have a Tesla, and I have solar panels, but in the Netherlands, it's basically that you still get quite a lot of money if you return that solar power to the grid. So it's not really feasible in the Netherlands to use that power. Just return it to the grid and you'll get your money. But I have a dynamic contract, which means every hour my prices change of the energy. I created a automation also using EVCC. I think a few guests back was also mentioned. It can manage your charge point that you have at home, your private charger. And it can detect which car is connected and then control basically charging. So I used that for smart charging, and then I have an automation. I use mainly Node-RED for automations because I find the visual thing a bit easier to do than the YAML.
Yeah.
And then I just connected it up. So that's one of the automations that I like the most. Charging on the cheapest hour of the day when the car is plugged in. I must say I don't use it that much anymore because I recently changed jobs and I'm now actually working on an app that does smart charging.
Cool.
So
that works.
Yeah, I for debugging reasons and stuff like that, it's much more convenient to use the app
that makes
than
sense.
my own, and it's also a bit more complex and can do more stuff. But with that in mind, I also have the dishwasher connected to the cheapest hours of the day. So I added like a small ZigBee button next to my dishwasher.
Yep.
And when the dishwasher is full, you can just press that button. It just schedules it, and Home Assistant just keeps tracking when the cheapest hours come around. And the schedule is on, then it just starts the dishwasher,
And how does it start the dishwasher? Like just resume, like put power back onto the dishwasher, or is it a smart dishwasher?
Yeah, it's a Home Connect device from Siemens, and I think they have like a security levels in their API, so dishwashers can be started automatically without using any buttons. Just they can turn it on and start a program. With dryers and stuff like that, it's a bit more complicated because I think they are in a higher security level or something like that. So you have to actually press a button to allow remote start.
Every time?
I didn't bother. Every time, yeah. Basically, it resets once the door opens and closes. So, I think it's for if somebody, maybe a pet or something, gets in the dryer. So you can start that remotely.
So it's a good way to fluff up your cat, I guess, or something.
Yeah.
That's interesting, though.
Indeed. Yeah. So, dishwasher also in cheapest hours. Last year we finished our garden. So they always say best developers are the lazy developers. So I'm pretty lazy.
Yeah.
So if something can be automated without me going outside and doing the actual work, I'll automate that. So watering for the garden is completely automated based on rainfall and in the last couple of days.
Nice.
Stuff like that.
So someone that is very much looking for, like I'm starting to look at that for my next project. What's your setup for outdoors and your irrigation?
So I went with Gardena for that because in my mind it was pretty good availability around in local stores and stuff like that.
Yep.
And it was also pretty straightforward. They have a good app, good integration with Home Assistant.
I think it's in Hacks, isn't it? Like that, if there's a custom component for it.
Yeah, indeed. And it's also not that expensive. I think I spent around $500 for my whole garden watering system.
That's great. Yeah,
and also for clips and stuff like that. If something breaks, there's because it's readily available. There's also a great community for 3D prints. So
that's good to know.
Yeah.
And are you managing? So you mentioned that it's got like water levels, rain levels, and all that. So like when you can do some smarts around it. Is Home Assistant doing that logic, or is that via the Gardena system that's doing that logic?
No, basically I just control powering it on through the Gardena API.
Yep.
Home Assistant is doing all the logic for sensoring the data and stuff like that.
That's perfect.
I also have a lawnmower, automatic lawnmower, but that is Gardena uses a Bluetooth protocol for the cheaper models.
Yep.
And unfortunately, that is not available yet in Home Assistant. So that is still something I really want to add. Maybe I'll
so you went the Gardena robot lawnmower then?
Yeah. Also Gardena.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So can't integrate it with Home Assistant yet. Maybe. I mean, Home Assistant does have a Bluetooth integration now. Maybe someone smart out there will be able to get into it. Just in general, how do you find the Gardena robot lawnmower?
It's pretty good. I must say you can just set up. It's also not too fancy. You still have to put like the detection lines or detection cables in the ground.
Yep.
And so it's not using any fancy GPS or cameras or stuff like that. You can just program a schedule and you can tell the mower how far it goes over the line. So you can control that. And I think that's it. It doesn't have any detection for rain or stuff like that. Because it is waterproof, also from the bottom, so you can just clean it with a hose.
Right.
So it's pretty basic, but I think if you spend a bit more money, you can buy an API connected one today. But
and one without cables and stuff, right? Because I know initially that's how all the robot lawnmowers had the cable, like the proximity cables, like whatever you call it.
Yeah.
But
indeed. Yeah.
That's cool.
I think Ecovacs, they've got a robot lawnmower that uses GPS and cameras and all that.
Yeah, there's a lot out there that do.
Yeah. We looked at one because we have also just a small patch of grass in the garden at the front of our house.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about one with a camera, so where I could just leave the porch open and then it would drive to that area. But that was really tricky. So I eventually just went with the simple route of just doing the manual job on front.
I don't know. My Roborock sometimes loses its position on a map. And so I wouldn't trust a robot lawnmower going over to the neighbor's house, like getting confused and getting lost in a neighbor's garden, right?
That's funny.
Yeah.
Right. So you've got your irrigation, your lawn mowing done. Any other household chores you've been able to automate with Home Assistant?
Just some things that help with basic things that happen during the day. So, for example, a couple of months or years ago, Home Assistant added a pretty good integration for like your Apple Watch, and starting automation from there. So I have like every morning when I have to drive to work, I have an automation that I'm leaving to work, and it basically unlocks our door because we also have like an automatic door lock, and then starts also preheating the car. So stuff like that. And also more like a bedtime automation. So when the last person goes to bed, everything turns off in the house. also devices that use quite a lot of power. The door locks, and you get only the lights that lead you to the bathroom, basically. Yeah.
As someone that doesn't have an iPhone or an Apple Watch, I'm trying to get the terminology here right. So you've got, I think they're called complications on the watch interface. So that's how you can trigger these things in Home Assistant. Can you customize at what time of day those complications show on the watch, so that your morning routine only shows on the watch in the morning and your nighttime routine is only there at nighttime?
I'm not sure. From what I'm using right now, it's like you have like a complication, and if you press it, you get a list of scenes basically you can activate. And I know that you can like cut that list down to exactly what you want to show on the watch. But I don't think you can switch that up based on the time of the day.
Yeah,
but maybe you can. I haven't looked that closely at it.
Yeah,
but that would be really cool. Because indeed, I only use preheating the car in the morning and bedtime in the evening. So indeed, yeah. And then maybe some other things. I'm working also sometimes at home. So I have set up like a home office. And I've got I found a couple of months ago an add-on on Hex, circadian light it's called, and it basically tracks the sun and changes the lights based on that. It's really great.
Yeah.
So easy setup.
You've got Philips Hue everywhere, so that's going to be perfect for you, because you get the daylight, bright blue lights in the day, or the fluorescent white lights in the day, and then at sunset. I used to have ZigBee downlights that had the cool white and warm white, and that was one of my favorite things too. Right, just as the sun's setting, like to go like that shift right during the day, and then that was one of my favorite things. Don't have it anymore.
Really,
but I'm jealous.
Yeah, that's really great. Also, in the evening when the lights are a bit more orange, it helps you to also do sleep faster. So
no blue light.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then I also set up like a power sensor behind my basically my monitors and my PC. So that when they're not using any power, the lights automatically turn off.
Cool. So you know if you're in the room or you're not in the room, kind of, or if you're using the machine or not.
Yeah. And just recently, I also I bought on Amazon like a car pressure sensor, like a seat sensor. And I put that underneath my chair, so it also tracks when I'm actually sitting in the chair. And if not, and my desk is, I have like a standing desk, standing desk. So if that is not up, then it's also turned off.
Okay, that's interesting.
And so I guess that probably leads into a good question around like presence for the rooms. Like, are you tracking when you walk into a room? Because I know you mentioned you didn't have to use a light switch before. So how are you, automating lights around the house?
It's mostly motion sensors currently. I would love to try some of those millimeter wave sensors in the future, but currently it's motion and power usage of like the TV and stuff like that. So I do have some a bit more complex stuff that I really like, or complex. So we have 2 stairs in the house, and I have set up one motion sensor at the top of the stairs and one at the bottom. So with a quick automation, I can check if you're walking up or down, and then it turns on the lights accordingly to in what direction you are walking.
That is great.
That's just super easy and brings a lot of value, I think.
Yeah. That's cool. So,
for the rest, I'm really I'm trying now to automate my desk But there are some projects out there, but it's I'm not good with electricity, so it's a bit of a tricky project for me, because you have to really, they're using like a UART connection. You have to buy an analyzer to read the bits, and then you have to write them with ESP Home. So
I'm assuming you've Googled like the brand of the desk and all that, and try and see if someone else has already done it.
Yeah, and there are quite a lot of white label desks out there. Yeah. So I have one of those. If you have like a known brand, then it's a bit easier. Either they have like a module that connects with Home Assistant, or somebody created a project for that. But if you have like a motor from a random Chinese company, then it's really hard to automate it.
So you're trying to automate it. How do you want to automate it if you get there?
Yeah. So currently, I have a door sensor on the foot of the desk, which measures if the desk is up or down.
Yeah.
And every hour I get like a stand notification when I'm sitting at my desk.
Yep.
So like you've been sitting for an hour, please stand up for 30 minutes.
Yep.
But it would be great if I could just automate that, and then the desk would, or I get a notification, for example, and it would ask me, and I would just click it and it would move up, something like that. Or for example, if I then sit down on my chair, which I have a sensor, of course, in that can track if I'm sitting down, then the desk just goes down. So,
As one lazy developer to another, I've got the IKEA Bluetooth sit-stand desk for that reason.
Yeah.
But I've just been too lazy to automate it to do that.
Yeah.
So.
I think it's just people sometimes ask me what does that automation bring as value? It's not super much. I could actually press the button which is next to me to let the desk go down, but it's just fun to automate it, and then
So future looking, what are some of the automations or smart things you want to build into your house?
Yeah, so the desk is really one thing that I would like to automate, and also the Venetian blinds that we have. We actually don't use them that much. They are just on one setting and the whole day. But it would be really cool, like if the sun goes down, that they automatically close.
Yeah,
I think that would be really nice. And maybe I currently have, I think it's from Xiaomi, plant sensors in my indoor plants to measure like what's the water level and the nutritional level. But I would also like to automate something like a water tank, that if you go on vacation, that you can just put it next to it and it just drips water into it, so plants don't die. Yeah. We had them die one vacation, so...
I mean, if it makes you feel any better, mine die when they're here, so when I'm still here, so it's... But...
Yeah, those Xiaomi sensors are really nice. They just show you the level. I put like an automation plant XYZ water level low, and then it just pushes you.
I've tried so many. Like I still have, like I've got like literally one in the wrapper still, and I've got one that's from a dead plant, mind you, right? And it's like, and it's I think I just don't have the best green thumb.
Yeah, no, me neither. But I think if you can automate it, and then maybe if you can automate it indeed further, that it just feeds the plant automatically. Then,
that's ideal.
Then you don't have to do anything. Yeah. So that are one of the things, and the government here announced that in 2027 you will not be getting as much money anymore for the power you put back in the grid. So then battery storage becomes interesting. So I've now started looking into some battery solutions and how I could integrate those into my home. Yeah.
I know in Australia they're even talking about charging people, like if you're exporting during peak time, like in the middle of the day when the sun's shining, they'll charge you for exporting. As opposed to paying.
Here they started doing that as well. Like if you have, but they base it on how much solar panels you have.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's say you have 13 solar panels, then you pay like 100 euros a month as a surcharge for.
Exactly.
That's interesting. So I know nothing about returning power or anything like that, right? So like, what is the logic there? Because technically, aren't you helping the grid by sending power back? So shouldn't they be encouraging it rather than discouraging? Or is there cost involved for them that when you do that?
Yeah, the grid has to be in balance, and so if there is no power taken from the grid and a lot of power going in the grid, you get an unbalanced system, and that can lead to quite a lot of problems. That's also why dynamic plants exist. In when there is a lot of surplus, then the prices are low. We here in the Netherlands already got like 2 days where it was below zero. So if you use power, then you get actually money back.
Wow!
That's really great.
Interesting.
Paid to use electricity. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really strange because the sun is shining and they just tell you use everything you got and you even get money
bring
for
out
that.
the Bitcoin miners. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. So I charge up my card if that happens, or something like that. We have a heating pump in our home. So it has a pretty big boiler. So I also automated that to heat it up to like 60 degrees when that happens, just to avoid, because if you actually return power to the grid at those times, you pay.
Wow,
so it's not only
I guess that makes sense. Yeah, that kind of makes sense then because of the balancing. But I feel like they could just like put like some kind of a transfer switch at like a smart transfer switch at your house, just to say, hey, we have too much power, and just like basically kill the power coming in, right? Just
kill the export. Yeah.
I think they are doing that with some systems. Yeah. So what I did also. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I think the one down here, they're saying like that's it. Like all new installations have to have the like a remote kill capacity, right? So they can shut it off now. If that ever happens.
Yeah. Something I did for when we're going on vacation is that when it goes to zero and no one is in the house, I just turn it off, the consumption of the solar panels.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Because otherwise, you'll just pay money.
That's it.
But the whole storage is very interesting to me, like battery kind of thing, right? I've been interested, but obviously I haven't done anything towards it yet. But
it's really. I think we all need to move in that direction because there's now, at least in the Netherlands, they pushed for solar panels quite a lot with incentives and stuff like that. So there are so many houses with solar panels, and now you get like an imbalance in how much power you consume at one time and how much is returned. So, and then at night there is like there's a difference in like 20 cents sometimes. Because people start cooking, which draws power. Taking showers, stuff like that.
And all of that stuff too, right? Just in general.
And
that's when people are home, right? Otherwise, sometimes people are at the office.
Right.
Whatever, so interesting.
Yeah. So if you can store that power for later, then.
Totally. Yeah.
And just makes the use case for Home Assistant and smart home in general, right? Like so much more compelling. Like when you have, just simple things like imagine all the people that have solar panels that don't have the capacity to automate their homes to this level, right? Like home assistant now becomes, it pays for itself, even though it's free.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's also, I think, if we get so many devices, there's now an app with your car, probably like a battery has its own app, and then your solar panels also have an app.
Yep.
You don't want all those apps. You just want one app with simple controls. And
exactly.
And I think I don't know, in my head, the cool thing would be like if you have like, let's say you have the batteries, you have smart breakers, things like that, everything, even if you don't have solar, like I don't have solar at my house, right? It charges with grid power.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we also have like slightly, it's not dynamic pricing, but it's like a nighttime price and a daytime price kind of thing, right? Or like time of use, whatever it's called. Yeah. And, great. During the day, or whenever it's more expensive, I start, draining the batteries a little more. And then whenever it's cheap, start using the shore power, right? So you start using whatever's delivered by the utility company there. So I don't know, and or even to say like, hey, it's obviously it's a cleaner, right? So because it's you're not having the fluctuations and all that stuff, like a whole home UPS almost. Right. And then tied to smart breakers. So if the power from the city does die, then you just flick off a couple of breakers automatically and it's just now in like essentials. Right. So whatever that looks like, I don't know. To me, there's a lot of possibilities you can do. Some of it might not be possible today, just with the way where the technology is, but it's, I don't know. To me, that's kind of the notion of that's pretty interesting. So.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I know there are some projects, I think also in America, where they have like a neighborhood battery storage. So the neighborhood just charges up the battery, and then you can just use the battery, and you get like like a small market exchanging like power.
Yeah. We have virtual power plants where, like, if you have a battery on your house, you can sign up with your electricity company, and they will manage, when your battery drains out to the grid and all that. And
that is really cool.
A kickback or whatever.
Yeah. For the UI, I'm using a minimalist UI. I always try to have a really clean UI for Home Assistant. Also with the iPad on the wall.
Yes, of course.
That's something I really love.
Yeah. With the iPad on the wall, like, so you're using that minimalist UI. How do you find, like, are you using, because I'm using mushroom cards and dynamically displaying, alerts, right? Like notification badges. Are you doing something similar? Like, maybe there's new mail detected in the mailbox. You've got a badge for that on the iPad?
No, not at the moment. Mainly when I need notifications, I just push them to my phone. But I've been thinking about it also with if you have like cheap prices for electricity or something like that, or rain is coming or stuff like that. But now currently I just push them to my phone.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think the notifications, like I have the critical ones go to my phone, but then I have, just a quick glance status, right? So you can see, this device is marked as offline, right? Or don't forget to take the bins out tonight,
right?
That sort of stuff.
Just
looks nice on the dashboard, right?
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. Maybe something also that I forgot to mention is. Which is also a really great automation that combines everything that we now have in our home. We have the ZigBee smoke detectors.
Nice.
So when there is fire, there has never been fire, but in case of fire, all the lights in the house would turn on, the curtains would open, the door would unlock. So that's also something that I think is really cool in case of emergency, of course.
I love those automations where you can just do things like that, right? Like there's an emergency, or you're in the middle of the night, just turn the lights on.
Yeah. But I think that covers us pretty well.
That's awesome.
Well, I think you have an awesome setup. And thank you for sharing it with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So Florian, thank you so much. Speak to you guys soon.
Cheers.
Yeah, thank you. Great talking to you guys.
Take care.
Bye.
Cheers.